When I moved to Vermont, I never imagined the enormity of my life, my work, and story in this state. It is awesome and terrifying at the same time. When I decided to make Vermont my home, I remember my mentor saying to me, quote, "Perhaps Vermont is exactly where you are supposed to be," end quote. I believed that with my whole heart. I wanted to believe it. To me, Bennington was a community with compassion, promise, beauty, and dogged determination. I made loving familial friendships with so many people and was one of its biggest cheerleaders. We had a cozy home in a location where I could enjoy breathtaking views and cultivate the land. It crushed me to know that in time, we had no choice but to leave the place we loved for our safety and well-being. Articulating the agonizing pain that I've felt for the last several years for this audience is a monumental task. I have not yet let the grief of our loss and let the mourning wash over me in the ways that I need to, so that I can remain present and supportive to my loved ones who depend on me. Over time, we found that town leadership engaged in a whisper campaign that placed the town's precarious economic future at my feet. Business owners that I was once friendly with became prejudicial. Some feared ostracization if they were to show support for me in any way. Trucks revved their engines past our house for sport. Angry faces screamed epithets and insults from their windows at me. There was no point in reporting to the police or for asking for help, because they made it clear over time that they were ultimately uninterested and had better things to do. The town manager and the chief of police tried to have me charged with fraud for having a GoFundMe account. This account was opened and managed by the NAACP. It was not a personal fundraiser to help support a total loss of income so that I could provide full-time medical care for James for 3 months post-surgery. It was a dizzying experience to go from trusting those that I work closely with, including the police, with the best of intentions, to realizing how diligently they were working towards a campaign set on my demise. And at first, I wanted to believe that the town leaders were just uninitiated and ignorant about racism and discrimination. Still, in time, I came to see the abstinence and the prejudice for what it was. I distrust law enforcement and have lost confidence in that institution and its representatives to act with integrity. This experience has profoundly impacted my work, even in unexpected ways. My employer had to hire an international security expert to create plans for our staff, as they immediately became vulnerable targets for their association with me after my hire. They too began to get threats and were doxxed on the internet. Former friends who still live in Bennington ended contact with me due to fears of retaliation and targeting for being connected to me. I could not move about in what was once my community without fear. And day after day, I was subject to hateful stares from individuals known and unknown to me. Black people know those stares are not innocuous. To this day, I do not feel safe returning to Bennington. I feel less secure now with the passage of time and the well-documented escalation of racialized incidents that have happened since our departure there. I said from the beginning of all of this that my concern was not only with Misch, but with whomever else might be signaled from him and feel called to eliminate me, and time has proven that many were listening. My child has struggled significantly due to the traumas that he has experienced and witnessed over the years, and these traumas directly link back to the town's attitudes, their posturing, and their responses to what happened within this story. It would take my son months before feeling safe in our new home and releasing his separation anxiety. When we moved, he left behind his cousins, whom he adored, and his best friends, some of whom dated back to infancy, causing further loss and instability in his life. James sold his childhood home and lost faith in a community that he had once adored. Beautiful memories of a kind and friendly town were replaced with ugliness, exclusion, and state-sanctioned terrorism. My family continues to live with the worry every day that something may happen to me. My mother still cries and prays for us every day. And all of this happened because the town of Bennington and the Bennington Police Department chose to directly assist and endorse the actions of individuals who were playing in an extremely dangerous game with our lives. The town used the press to assert that we were culpable of the hatred the harassment, the threats, and the hostility that we experienced and used spurious, falsified, debunked, or exaggerated examples of our fighting back. They amplified State Attorney Erica Marthage's message that I, quote, had a lack of fear and a lot of back and forth, unquote, with my attackers in the press. And in doing so, they sought a way to reframe our courage to push back, even in the most minor measures, as a sign that we were the same or worse than those directly responsible for our attacks. It's a deeply shameful defense, for sure, and one that has historical roots. As a public servant, a community organizer, and a leader, I worked hard to constantly lift and fight like hell for Bennington. I encourage you not to forget that. Remember how hard I worked to establish the Southern Vermont Economic Development Zone and to get the TIF designation that you all needed to ensure that the Putnam Project would happen. Do not forget about so many initiatives that I fought for, including the expansion of the Recreation Center, the incredible work that's come from the Drug-Free Communities Grant, and more. I fought and worked hard to get a remedy for the discovery of PFOA in our waters. You may recall that I was the only member of our designation to respond to the initial inquiry about the water pollution. I also want the public to know that any financial awards that we will receive come from the liability insurance policy of the town and not tax dollars. The direct financial costs to the town are actually minimal, and the payment of the insurance award is unfortunately being held up for an indefinite period of time. The items for public good were always in our demands, and I'm pleased that those were accepted without protest. I'm proud that my mother, my sisters, and other relatives were able to bear witness to the mediation experience, which was harrowing and even traumatizing in moments. Nearly 14 hours of negotiation to arrive at the agreement that we have in hand, and an acknowledgement of the harms that were endured. No changes in staffing or penalties for the town manager or the chief of police has emerged from this experience, which my family feels is necessary to begin on a meaningful path towards real change in Bennington. The collateral costs of this case, not limited to Bennington, and the economic future of this state are far greater than anything that we were awarded. And I'm deeply grateful for the incredible work of the Human Rights Commission, for their diligence and courage to support those when our current systems fail to do so. Thank you to the NAACP, to ACLU, Vermont Legal Aid, Rights and Democracy, and so many others who continue this work on behalf of all of us. Thank you to our attorney, Robert Appel, and our champions in the legislature for pushing to better ensure this experience does not happen again. We have yet to experience the comfort that comes from healing. I still hold love for Bennington, and it is in that spirit that we are willing to lend our voice to create a real path forward. Together, the story is not yet entirely written. This is a chapter that will not be forgotten. It is up to the people of the state to ensure that it does not repeat. And to the people of Bennington, I implore you to walk in courage and know that the truth will set you free. It is only then that we can achieve justice for all. Thank you.